This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
The most common mistake retirees are making going into retirement. Could it be this one thing? Well, we're going to ask Jon. This is Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital, financial advisor. I'm Heather Branch, here with Jon to ask for his insight. In particular, in the headlines, the news stories that we see all over the internet, because that seems to be I don't know if you've heard, but the internet tends to be a source of the chaos for a lot of folks. And when it comes to our money...
does it really? I haven't heard that. That's new to me.
And when it comes to our money, we're already confused enough as it is, just trying to figure it out. The expression you always say, be a good steward of your money. Don't we all want that? Of course we do. And yet, here we are. So let's break this down. RetirementSolutionShow.com is our website where you can go to begin the conversation with Jon and his team. We also have links posted in the show notes. So there is a gentleman. He's a financial coach of sorts. He is a financial coach. He has the name Stephen Chen. He was on the website GoBankingRates.com talking to them about, in his career, the biggest mistake that he sees people make. And the tragedy is, again, so many of us want to do well, but so many of us do mistakes accidentally. That's the saddest part to me. So what he sees, Jon, is that it's not having a spending plan, but not just that monthly number. It's also where the money comes from. That's what he sees people mess up the most. Do you agree with that?
100%. So if you think about it, and most people are not avid mountain climbers, if you will. But I have had the opportunity to talk to many people that are like world champion mountain climbers. I don't know why. It's just one of those endurance sports. And these guys that do it well, like they have a lot to say. And maybe it's just because they have so many hours to postulate on life's greatest philosophies when they're going up and down a mountain. Right. But one of the things that I laugh about is because they say, oh, no. You have to have two completely different guides. Jon, there's the guide that gets you to plan for it all to get up the mountain. Mm-hmm. And then there's the second guide, the guide that teaches you how, now that you've hit the summit, how do you come down without dying? Because at that point in time, you've done a really hard job. I mean, like you went to the very top, you didn't die yet. You're not, you could be injured, but the main thing is that we got to make sure that you can get down after you're tired because you did that climb up, right? And it's a completely different skill set. So what Chen is talking about here, I think, is a lot like that second guide. Many of us, we have our advisors or we've done it on our own and we've put the money into the 401k, we've diversified, we don't panic sell. Those are all the things we're told to do, right? Right. And we hold on to the money and we get to that point and we'll retire. But here's the thing. Not only how much money should we pull out, the number is not necessarily as important as what sources are we using to create the income in the first place, right? Okay. Because it's very easy to think about it. When you're working, we get a paycheck, or if you own your own business, you have profits, from your revenues. That is not hard. But when we retire, we technically have to have an asset to spin off money for us. We may be able to rely on Social Security, or maybe we have an annuity or a pension, which is great. But then the rest of those dollars, they got to come from something. And if the market tanks, goes down 30, 40, 50%, we thought we were going to pull $100 out of an account, but now that account has only got half. Should we only pull $50 out? Right? That's the issue. And so what Chen is talking about is, hey, people have saved a ton of money. You've done a lot of the hard work, but you have to navigate that descent down the mountain, or in this case, that income need, that withdrawal sequence that we need to stay retired. Yeah. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about what that means, because it's super important. There are three critical things every one of us has to understand, whether you do it on your own or whether you want to kind of spot check your advisor, or if you need to focus on someone that handles the retirement quotients, right? Because it is very different. Growing money is very different than maintaining it and actually distributing it over your life, your surviving spouse's life, your children's life, and if we're very fortunate and we save very well, even our grandkids and further on. That's dynasty planning. That's technically estate planning. So all of that is what a retirement advisor should be doing. Okay. But the biggest things, let's do the big three. Number one, you have to know your number. No, this is not about the amount of money that you've saved. Your number of what do you need to spend each and every year in retirement. We'll adjust it for inflation later, but what do you need to spend to enjoy being retired? That's it. What do you want to spend? Okay. Is it $80,000 a year? Is it $10,000 a month? It's kind of irrelevant to me how you think about it, but I kind of do things on a monthly basis because that's kind of how we pay our bills in this country. Most of it is monthly. So if the average person wants to say, John, I want $6,000 a month. Fabulous. Now that we know how much you need, now our systems will adjust that for inflation, which is good. But the other thing we have to adjust for is what about things that change? In the beginning of retirement is where I want most people to spend the most money. And if you talk to most advisors, they absolutely discourage that. They're like, oh my gosh, if you overspend in the beginning, you're going to run out of money. And I think that that's preposterous. I think that most of us, if we've done a great job of saving, we need to plan to overspend in the beginning. I call this front-loading retirement.
Okay.
Now, why do we do that? Because that is the youngest and the healthiest you will ever be over the course of retirement, chances are. Chances are, as we age, we're going to be a little bit more uncomfortable. We're going to be a little bit slower. Our knees aren't going to work as much. We're not going to be climbing the steps of Machu Picchu at age 82.
Right.
But could we potentially do it at age 66? Yeah. So if those are things we want to do on our front load retirement, that puts a completely different stress on a portfolio, which is why we got to know, where does the income come from? So number one, how much money do we want to spend every month? Number two, what is going to generate that spendable income for us? Many of us can either rely on a pension of some type or Social Security. Because most people that don't have Social Security, they often have pensions. That's what allows them to have that switchover. So we can rely on that. The question is, what else can we rely on? A lot of people out there have been talking about annuities, some of it very negative, some of it very positive. To me, an annuity is just simply a tool. It's kind of like a personal pension plan. You put money in, you give it to an insurance company, and they say, okay, you give me $100,000. I'm going to give you $10,000 a year for as long as you live or for the next 20 years, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. And so that can be a very attractive income source if you want certainty. And most people in retirement, that is one thing they want. They want some form of certainty that if they have these bills they have to pay, that something is coming in to pay for those, right?
Right.
So if we know our Social Security and it's not quite enough, we don't like annuities or we don't have pensions, that's fine. But where is the rest of that money going to come from? Is it going to come from our market-based investments that could go up 50%, which is awesome? But frankly, the market is very expensive right now. It doesn't mean it's going to fall apart. Don't confuse what I'm saying, but it is very expensive. And if someone was retiring today, and they said, John, I've been making 12, 13% a year on my money for the past several years. Why can I only take out 3 or 4%? Well, because there will be a day in time where the market will not go up 13 or 14% that year. It could give us a negative 20 or negative 30%. And I don't want you changing your lifestyle or changing your retirement goals simply because the market decided to throw a tantrum on us. So we have to have some form of way to produce income. Now, should we use assets that have buffers or barriers? Maybe. Should we get them insured or guaranteed? Some of them. But the easiest way to figure out where our income is going to come from is by using buckets. Very, very, very simple. We basically have a bucket for what are we going to need over the next 2 to 3 years. That way, if the market does have a tantrum, as long as we have 2 or 3 years worth of income in a very liquid and unbelievably ultra conservative bucket, we should be in good shape. That is a good enough buffer period to withstand most market issues. Now, not for every period of time. Don't get me wrong. It's not a perfect situation, but that is just that first level. That is the now bucket, what we need over the next very short period of time. That middle bucket, this is the one that most people don't have. The middle bucket is truly meant to generate income, whether you're using bonds, whether you're using inflation-protected bonds, whether you're using indexed annuities, whether you're using anything in the world that can create an income stream. There is one caveat to that middle bucket, that income bucket. We cannot have too much of a hit on principal. It doesn't mean it has to be fully insured and guaranteed like a CD or something, but we have to have very limited or very low or no loss potential.
Okay.
So because of this, there end up being many asset classes that are just very attractive for this bucket. We want something that has some surety. We want something that can create income for us that we can spend. But the main thing is we do not want downside volatility. That's the big one. And the last bucket, the third bucket, is the growth bucket. Now, this is what almost everyone has. This is what all your mutual funds go into, all your exchange traded funds, all your market-based assets, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, ETFs, SPY, QQQ, all that stuff goes in that later bucket. But the thing of it is that later bucket, that's the one that's meant to take care of inflation, major emergency needs down the road, or frankly, longevity. That's what that bucket's for, to grow hopefully for when we need more money down the road. But most people do not have that middle bucket designed properly. That is utmost importance. So what Chin was saying is people don't know exactly how to get down that mountain. They don't know how to withdraw that money. The most important part of it is that once we know how much we need per month, and then we know how to generate that income, the last piece of the puzzle, and this is where almost everyone misses it, is it tax favored? Because how we are taxed is the difference in thinking we're going to get $100 and we can spend it, or we only get to spend $80, or in some of our situations, we only get to spend $60 of that 100 that comes in. So those are the three things we have to have when we're coming down the mountain in retirement. When we need to live off of what we've saved, number one, we have to know how much we need specifically today. We'll adjust that for inflation later. Number two, we have to know what is going to create that income that we can spend. It's either an asset class or a strategy, or it's in a bucket. Either way is fine, but we want to know what is going to generate that income. And lastly, is it going to be tax efficient? If we get those things right, not only will we be comfortable coming down the mountain, but we'll live to be able to tell the tale to everyone else that they need 2 Sherpas, not just one, 2.
Well, Jon, you and your team at J. Hagan Capital, you are here to help us down the mountain, which, as you pointed out, is the challenging part for so many of us without the right plan in place, without the right guide to get us through. So if you have questions for Jon and his team, if you are realizing you don't have these 3 areas understood for yourself, for your family, for your future, let's get to work helping you figure it out in a plan that's customized to you and your goals. RetirementSolutionShow.com is our website, and where you can go to start the conversation with Jon and his team, understanding these 3 areas, knowing where your income is coming from, knowing how you're going to, knowing the number that you need each month, where it will come from, and then is it tax favored? Let's begin the conversation helping you understand about your plan, your money, your future. It's RetirementSolutionShow.com, or just click on the links we've got posted in the show notes.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with Jon Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with Jon and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting retirementsolutionradio.com. Be sure to listen to Jon's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through J. Hagan Capital, LLC, NPN number 1882794.